Sangat. Thank you for joining us today on Song of Divine Light. I'd just like to start by saying, please forgive me for any mistakes that I make in pronunciation of the Gurbani or the translation or interpretation of the teachings of the masters in this discourse. And today we are going to be focusing on focus. What that means to us, what the masters advocate for us to focus on, and how we can achieve that within our own lives to help us on our spiritual evolution and our journey towards liberation of the soul. And so I must offer all glory to the King of Kings, all glory to the Lord of Lords, all glory to the Master of Masters. For without the true Guru, nothing can be done. All of creation dances to his music. Some will be happy and free, and some will be locked in cages, and some will be kings with more land than the eye can see, and some will be beggars without even a single penny. Some will say that God doesn't exist, and some will persist to stay up late into the wee hours of the night to sneak a peek at his divine light. But whether you listen or not, whether you are aware or not, whether you believe or not, everyone and everything is under his command, from the bottom of the sea to the highest mountain top. So what hope do we have? Incarnated into this plane of existence with innumerable sins attached around our necks, pushing and pulling as we bob up and down, drowning in the ceaseless waves of samsara, the illusion of Maya. How do we get off this roller coaster that has us laughing one day and crying another as we wade through the maze of life, enduring the ceaseless cycles of pleasure and pain? You see, Maya is the supreme foe. She's a level 99 boss at the end of the ultimate video game that has been given the unfair advantage of knowing all of your weaknesses before even you do, while being able to manifest everywhere and anywhere, even within your deepest, most secretive thoughts. Cloaked in darkness, she appears as the light, and even the masters say, don't fight. At least, not head on. They say redirect your attention, attenuate your focus, change the channel. Because fighting leads to entanglement with Maya and further compounds the situation. And so we must learn where and how to shift our focus. So Baya Sahib Ji reminded me one beautiful day that our focus is like water in the garden of our spirituality. In that garden, there may be many plants, fauna, flowers, trees, growing everywhere. It's this beautiful jungle, right? And some are beautiful, and others are blooming, sharing their fragrance, or bearing golden fruit, gifting it to anyone that walks by. While other plants may not be so giving. They may be weeds on the ground, sucking the life force out of the rest of the garden and destroying opportunity for something to sprout up in its place. So, as the spiritualists, we want to water those plants that are spreading that divine fragrance, those trees that are bearing golden fruit in our life, those divine virtues of contentment, compassion, love, truth, and humility. We want to water those. And we don't want to water those weeds that are stealing from our garden of spirituality. The anger, the greed, the lust, the ego, and attachment that turns the ground into barren soil where nothing can grow. And you see, this is where it starts to get tricky, because where attention goes, energy flows. Where we place our consciousness, that is what we're watering. Therefore, if our consciousness is that water, and if we focus on the weeds in our garden, we're watering them, even if unintentionally, even if we're not trying to. If we focus on it, those weeds are just going to get bigger. Those weeds, they're just going to get stronger. And those weeds, it's going to get harder for us to shift our focus away from them. And so it's a bit of a paradox, because if we focus on the problem only gets worse. Yet if we focus on the solution, the problem somehow ceases to exist. Honestly, I don't quite understand it myself, but in practice, it seems to work wonders. But humans, being human, in our innumerable faults, we love to continually point out the problem. How many times have you been in life and you're like, oh, there's the problem. You're the problem. That's the problem. The problem's over there. He's doing that. She's doing that. It's this in society. It's that. It's that God. It's this God. And if you notice, one thing that we're doing here is we're pointing outside of ourselves. The true spirit, just by side, reminds me, redirects that finger and begins to look inside. Yet humans being humans, we continually point at the problem. We talk behind other people's backs, or we get into arguments trying to prove our position just so we could be right. And everyone else is wrong, right? And all these actions, they're focusing on the problem. And while on the surface, it might look beneficial temporarily, you get some egoic victory, or you get to feel good about yourself being right and everyone else is wrong and you're the king of your own mind. But they really only aim to brew more discord through resentment, bitterness, and separation over time. And Bicep always reminds us, life is too short to live in hostility. So it's time that we became part of the solution rather than continue to contribute to the problems that plague our society and our day-to-day relations. So when we focus on that solution, we aim to be of service to help encourage, guide, uplift, so we and others can live more harmoniously, peacefully, and happy all together as one beautiful divine family. So once again, whatever you focus on strengthens that relationship within you. And all the great masters from all the lineages essentially say the exact same thing. Buddha says, we are what we think. In the Gita, it says, man is made by his beliefs. As he believes, so he is. In Sikhism, it says, on whatever we focus, that we shall receive. In the West, they say, as a man thinketh, so shall he be. And the gurus called it dhyan. Bhai Sahib Ji told me that dhyan is a single-pointed, uninterrupted train of thought. A single-pointed, uninterrupted train of thought. That's an interesting concept. It's not just, oh, I'm going to focus on one thing for a moment. No, it's uninterrupted. It's continual. It's perpetual, endless. It's that ability to merge into any thought, word, or object with complete and total focus. And he said the essence of all knowledge is held within a focus that is that pure. And so focus opens the door for our internal spiritual knowledge and helps in our day-to-day living of how we should behave and talk. And whatever emotion that we place our focus into, that will strengthen that emotion, which results in the manifestation of that emotion through physical experiences in our lives. So be very aware of what emotions you're feeding into, because they will show up in your life physically. And so when we focus too much on these outside illusions, we ourselves will become unstable. Our minds will become unstable. Thoughts will start infiltrating, which are leading us to actions that take us off the path. And we must remember that there's only one divine power, which is stable and unwavering. And it's our job to put forth the effort to connect with it. Bhai Sahib always reminds us too that it's the choices of where we place our focus. Those that will either open the doors to happiness or shut them and leave us in a wake of dismay. So you have to choose what is best for your physical and spiritual welfare. Choosing the right focus is vital in any aspect, in what we eat, how we talk, how we behave. We get to become aware of your thoughts, your actions. We get to become aware of how Maya is trying to steal your focus. And we must become aware of Maya's tricks, the tricks she has up her sleeves, and learn how to avoid her traps that have you stuck in repeating thoughts, repeating patterns, or lost in the past, or hoping for a future, getting attached to it. And there's a variety of ways that she's dancing in front of our eyes today. One of them being television. Obviously, everything's gone on internet now, streaming, but it's telling you a vision, their vision, not the divine vision. Or TV programming. Who is it programming? It is programming you, molding your consciousness into what they want. And one of the most nefarious that people aren't even aware of now is AI, algorithms. These are the way that the internal AI operates, that is trained on your behavior patterns, and it gamifies you to ensure that you keep taking the action that they want you to take over and over and over again, thereby entangling you further and further as you strengthen the habit every single time you repeat the action that they want you to take. There's literally groups of people that get together to figure out how to get you to tap on that one button again, or how to get you to scroll more on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is platform they're at. You have to become aware that this is going on behind the scenes. Otherwise, you will drown in it. And many people do get addicted to these things. And every time you take the action, you're only strengthening it again and again. And even in music, between the verses that they sing, what are they doing? They're repeating the same lines over and over. In the music industry, they call this the hook of a song, hooking your consciousness until you start singing it, right? And you start repeating it, and it becomes your mantra, and then eventually you become it. So we must become very aware of what is going on out there in the world that is pulling us, hooking our consciousness, hooking our attention away from the true path of spirituality. And so we can imagine this Sangat, this very Sangat, coincidentally, where we have the ocean behind us on this screen here. And we can imagine this Sangat as a school of fish. We're all swimming together through the ocean of darkness, Bhavsagar, right? But in this ocean, there are countless shiny objects just bobbing up and down. Wonder what they are. Ignorantly, while we watch our fellow fish try to bite this shiny object, only to realize that it's a fish hook, and they're reeled in and then eaten by the angel of death. However, in this Bhavsagar, underneath it, we must become aware of one very special hook in this infinitely vast sea filled with so many traps. This is a very special hook. It's a divine hook. And for us to navigate through all the other shiny objects, renouncing them, to save ourselves for the one, then to willingly surrender and hook ourselves to this divine hook. In this way, we will be reeled in by the divine himself and pulled out of the ocean of darkness, not to be eaten, but to be safely placed in the boat of the Shabad. And that divine hook, it might look like a rusty old hook. It doesn't look all shiny like the other hooks. It looks like it's going to hurt if you jump on that hook. It doesn't look like it's very tasty at all, So, but that hook, even though it doesn't look like all the perfect marketing materials and doesn't have all the claims of the other hooks, that hook is going to place you on the boat of the Shabad. And that boat will carry you across the ocean of darkness. So we must become aware of all these distractions and take careful accounting of what we are allowing into our field of awareness. We must become mindful of what we are making our minds full of. Those hooks, those shiny objects, the glitz, the glamour, the distractions from the TV shows, movies, music, social media feeds, friends, upcoming events, yada, 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 more and more. Even food. Maya literally attacks you from 360 degrees inside and out. And any true spiritualist will take stock of every aspect of their lives to ask, Is this taking me towards my divine? Is this taking me towards the divine light, or is it taking me away from my divine, putting me deeper into darkness, into ignorance? And we only have such limited time in this one lifetime that we have a chance to remember or raise our vibrations. So Vaisab always reminds me, shift your focus away from negativity, the destruction, separation, because our next life is not even guaranteed. We have no idea how we may or may not be coming back. And so instead of watering those weeds, we get to focus on watering the roses. Instead of being hooked by the innumerable temptations of Maya, we get to surrender our wayward desires and look to that of the higher. But it's not easy when the mind is unstable and wandering in all directions. A mind that wanders in the 10 directions, as they say in the Holy Scriptures, but in this metaphor, we'll say the 8 directions. When it wanders in the 8 directions, it's like that of an octopus. Imagine an octopus that has its 8 arms and it spreads its arms and it branches out in each direction. But the body doesn't actually move towards its goal. It might look or feel like it's doing a lot of things because it's got its arms flopping around in all different directions and it's constantly busy, but it's not actually getting anywhere at all. And the true spiritualist is not like an octopus. The true spiritualist is like an archer. He knows his goal and sees his target. And there's 3 points, Simran, Seva, and Sangat, that form this triangle, the head of his arrow. He pulls back on the string of his bow with his willpower, his intention, his love and devotion to achieve his goal. He aims at his target with this intense concentration and focus. And when he lets go, he surrenders, knowing that with perfect faith that the divine will carry that arrow to his goal. And if anyone's ever shot an arrow, you'll know that, yes, you're aiming, yes, there's some sort of technique, but when you let go of that arrow, you have no idea where it's going to land. You might hit a bullseye and you might completely miss. And so having that perfect faith in the divine to carry that arrow to its target is critical as well. And so how did the spiritualist actually hit his mark though? It was in his ability to concentrate, his ability to focus. And what did the true spiritualist focus on? On Simran, Seva, and Sangat. These 3 will protect you from the clutches of Maya. These 3 will create a beautiful bed of flowers in your garden of spirituality. Aromas of peace, harmony, and happiness. Contentment will linger from your garden. These 3 will keep your attention hooked to the divine line and lead you away from the pitfalls of Maya. And they literally will protect you. We'll go into a little bit of that in a little bit later, but in the Holy Scriptures, it says, the Gurmukh meditates on the Lord with every hair of his body. O Nanak, the Gurmukh merges in truth. And it continues, O Nanak, without the name, how can one be absorbed in truth? So the spiritualist meditates on the Lord with every single hair follicle, every cell in his body is attuned to that one vibration. And then Guru Nanak Dev Ji asks, how can one be absorbed in this truth? And it continues to say, O Nanak, the Gurmukh is emancipated through the Shabad. Attuned to the Nam, the name of the Lord, egotism is dispelled. Attuned to the Nam, they remain absorbed in the true Lord. Attuned to the Nam, they contemplate the way of yoga. Attuned to the Nam, they find the door of liberation. Attuned to the Nam, they understand the 3 worlds. O Nanak, attuned to the Nam, eternal peace is found. Attuned to the Nam, they attain Siddh Ghost, conversation with the Siddhas. Attuned to the Nam, they practice intense meditation forever. Attuned to the Nam, they live the true and excellent lifestyle. Attuned to the Nam, they contemplate the Lord's virtues and spiritual wisdom. Without the name, all that is spoken is useless. O Nanak, attuned to the Nam, their victory is celebrated. Through the perfect Guru, one obtains the Nam, the name of the Lord. So the Gurus tell us in plain language, and they tell us over and over and over and over again, because it's so very important that we must get hooked. We must hook our minds to this divine line of Simran through the name of the divine. We must attach ourselves to the divine. Then we must focus our minds and keep it on that line, because even if we're hooked on the line, the mind will try to do everything it can to just jump off and swim away back into the ocean darkness. There's too many shiny objects. It's just too unstable. And so we must put the effort forth to stay connected to that divine line. And honestly, we're not even safe until we're in the guru's boat and the Lord himself is merciful. Because if he wanted to, he could throw you back in the ocean. And we'll pray that he will be merciful to us. But the real ability, the real fight is in your ability to keep your focus connected to this Shabad, connected to the mantra. And we'll speak more about that in a second. And connected to the divine, because once you are connected, you are protected. And you can see Guru Nanak Dev Ji is telling us, attune to the Naam, attune to the Naam, attune to the Naam, over and over and over and over again. It's a very simple practice. It's so simple. It's so basic. It's just one thing over and over and over again that he's advocating for. Yet, it is so deeply profound. It's such a simple practice, yet it's so difficult to master. Maya tries to constantly distract us, tries to make the true spiritualists forget to remember. And so it's our job to remember. So remember, what you focus on, you shall receive. As a man thinketh, so shall it be. Bhai Sahib Ji also reminds me that the connection of our point of focus is what actually creates the struggle between two objects. So it's imperative that we redirect our focus to the divine and release ourselves from bondage with the object of our attention. And you actually get to choose. It's very interesting. You get to choose the experience of life from inside the experience, like the thoughts, the feelings, or from beyond it, depending where you place your focus. If you stay focused on the divine, in the Holy Scripture says, no filth of the world will affect you. You will not be consumed by the fire of the five thieves in this world if you stay connected to the Shabad, if you stay connected to that mantra, to that divine line. And in this way, when you look at the waves of Bhavsagar and you see somebody that's truly connected and they're protected, they're still observing the waves. They're still right there in the ocean, but they're floating above it. They're not being affected. They're not getting touched by those waves. They're not getting wet at all. Bhavsagar has no power over them. And so Bhai Sahib Ji also continues to say that whatever emotion you place your focus on, that emotion will grow. We spoke about that earlier, but take for example, the emotion of greed. When we focus on greed, it will manifest in many different ways as selfishness, anger, jealousy, and it will breed an unhealthy and competitive mind. Or if we focus on lust, when we focus on lust, it will manifest as these devious thoughts that are inviting us to take actions that will breed an unhealthy perspective of others. Or anger. When we focus on anger, it will manifest as violence in our thoughts, words, or actions, and it will breed separation in our relationships with others and the divine. And Baji reminds me that, we must be extra careful, extra aware. Why? Because we're living in the fourth yuga. This is known as Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga meaning the age of ignorance, of stubbornness, of darkness, of erratic nature, where there's no divinity, where everyone is a hypocrite. Society is failing on all measures, and there's just no standards in society anymore. And there's so many, many distractions in this Kali Yuga. And so the ability to focus in Kali Yuga, it's an extremely important tool. It's not only a tool, it's a skill. Just like anything else in your life, it's a skill that must be honed. Like your job, cleaning, cooking, this, that, the other thing. We put a lot of time and energy into mastering those skills that keep us to survive in the physical world. But this is a skill that will not only let you survive, but thrive in this world and in the next. And it's interesting too, because back in the day, when we were hunter-gatherers, or we were just living a more rural life, we needed as much information as possible. Because if you went out and you just said, I'm going into the jungle and I'm going to eat this plant, you have no idea. That could be disastrous. You could end up sick. You could end up dying. So you needed, the grandfather, the father of the tribe, whatever, to tell you and be like, hey, don't eat that, and you're safe. But these days, it's completely been flipped. These days, we're just overloaded with information. We're overstimulated. Information is just bombarding us from every angle. There's a new skill that is arising for those that are aware. And the new skill is to become a gatekeeper of your heart, a gatekeeper of your mind, and be very selective of who and what you allow into your life, what you allow into your field of awareness. And so if we focus too much on the illusion, it's good to, understand some of the tricks and things of that nature, to be aware, but we don't want to focus too much on this, right? And what illusion is the masters specifically telling us not to focus on? And Baji reminds me, it's the illusion of wame, my this, my that, mine, attachment to this world, all these illusions that will give you temporary happiness, but intense pain when you lose them or they're gone. And he went on to continue to tell me that everything around us is designed to disturb our peace of mind. It's just there to put a little frequency, frustration, or you don't have it, or create desire, or just something tinging in the back of the mind, just not quite still. We can't quite find that sanctuary of peace when we look outside of ourselves. And so when we focus on these imaginary illusions of the world, that's when the mind becomes unstable. That's when we start going from our center. We start chasing after these shadows, and we leave our center point. Remember, there's only one divine power that is stable and nothing else. And so, again, we're just saying, attach yourself to that one divine. Literally, throw yourself onto it. Do what you have to do. Convince the mind, run to it, give it a hug. Don't let it go. And literally, the true spiritualist will die into it like a moth to a flame. But for each of us, we must choose for ourselves and make that choice. And choosing of your own free will is vital on this path. But before we choose, or we can even choose, there Maya is, fighting for attention with the latest, greatest, shiny object, magical experience, or some giant billboard with flashing lights. And this is the challenge we all face, having erratic focus that is being pulled in every single direction. And when we look at focus, Baisad says, focus creates awareness. Awareness creates perceptions. Perceptions create our reality. Reality creates our future. And our future decides whether we have a life of happiness or pain. So where we place our focus has compounding consequences, whether they're positive for our life or negative. And as humans are not perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. Maybe we put our focus into something that leads us off for one day, or maybe we get tripped up in one day. However, the true spiritualist continually rises again to the occasion, refocuses their mind, and the wise will learn from their mistakes and grow towards liberation, while the fools will be doomed to continue to repeat them over and over again. And focus can be very addicting. As you know, let's just say a lot of people on social media, because it's such a hot topic with the AI and everything like that, people get addicted to this endless scrolling. And if what we get to do on the true path of spirituality is addict ourselves. If you're going to get addicted to something, make sure it's the divine, right? And pull yourself out of that. Because information molds the formless into formation. You are what you eat, right? Even your mind is eating every time you feed it something from those social media feeds. So eat healthy food and fill your mind with positive influences that will lead you towards divinity. You must be attentive, be alert, and keep your focus on the words of the divine. To live, breathe, and dream on the mantra. This way, this divinity will begin to cultivate within yourself and live within you. Actively choose to practice good focus. It's only through practice that we can become better. And practice makes perfect. So we can continually become more aware of our thoughts, our words, our actions, and stay focused on the mantra. As the masters say, meditate, meditate, meditate. And as Baji always reminds me, come back to the mantra, come back to the mantra, come back to the mantra, over and over again, until the mind is finally trained to stay connected and is rooted in that mantra and doesn't want to go anywhere else, because it finds that the mantra is the sweetest nectar that it has ever tasted. Better than all the false sweets that Maya offers us. And these are the roots of the higher development of our higher selves. And so mantra is that tool of the mind. And we cannot underestimate the importance of mantra as the foundation of the path. And from this foundation, when the mantra is rooted and you're connected to that line, this is where the seva comes. When you raise your vibration, this is where the Sangat comes. When you raise your vibration, and everything else rises into place. And the Holy Scriptures tell us what happens when we focus on the mantra and warns us of what happens if we don't. So we'll just close with this last Shabad here. The Simritis, the Vedas, the Puranas, and the other Holy Scriptures proclaim that without the Nam, everything is false and worthless. The infinite treasure of the Nam abides within the minds of the devotees. Birth and death, attachment and suffering are erased in the Sad Sangat, the company of the holy. Those who indulge in attachment, conflict, and egotism shall surely weep and cry. Those who are separated from the Nam shall never find any peace. Crying out, mine, mine, he is bound in bondage. Entangled in Maya, he is reincarnated in heaven and hell. Searching, 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 I have come to understand the essence of reality. Without the Nam, there is no peace at all, and the mortal will surely fail. Many come and go, they die and die again and are reincarnated. Without understanding, they are totally useless, and they wander in reincarnation. They alone join the Sad Sangat, unto whom the Lord becomes merciful. They chant and meditate on the ambrosial name of the Lord. Again, they chant and meditate on the ambrosial name of the Lord. Uncounted millions, so many they are endless, search for him. But only that one who understands his own self sees God near at hand. Never forget me, O great giver. Please bless me with your Nam, to sing your glorious praises day and night. O Nanak, this is my heartfelt desire. That one Shabad basically sums up this entire discourse. You could just read that, and if you could just understand that would just express everything that was just shared today. And the most beautiful part about this is Guru Nanak's heartfelt desire. The longing of his heart was to be blessed with the Nam. So even if your mind can't stay connected or you can't remember, you can make a prayer and cultivate that desire to get connected to the name of the divine, to the mantra, and to be able to sing the glorious praises of the one divine day and night. So focus on this inner divine light. And Sangatji, you all have this divine light. This divinity lives inside of you. We get to choose where we get to place our focus. Why focus on the consistent pain, the suffering, the chaos of the world, when we have the opportunity to focus on the positivity, the growth, the expansion, uplifting, the inspiration? And how can we do this? By keeping good company around you. Find that Sangat that will help you along your path and keep you in Chardikala, in high spirits. Focus on that mantra. that mantra that connects you to the divine. And the divine is intimate and personal connection between you and the universe, whatever you may call it, this higher power. You may call it by name. That name may differ from what another person calls it, and that's totally okay. Whether it be Jesus, Allah, Krishna, Waheguru, universe, source, creator, great spirit, Wankantaka, Ja, Ishvara, Brahma, Purusha, whatever you wish to call. The, the Lord has infinite names, but that name, that is the Nam. That is exactly what the Vedas are pointed to, that the Nam is the mantra, the name of the divine. And so focus on that mantra. Train your mind to love the sweet nectar of the divine name. With that, Sangat, thank you so much for listening today. Go in peace. May God and Guru bless us all. Waheguru Khalsa, Waheguru Fateh.